Welcome to EPG Pathshala Philosophy. I am Satchidanand Mishra, Professor in the Department of Philosophy and Religion, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. And the module we will discuss here, Nature and Role of Tark in Navya Nyaya, and it belongs to paper 2. So, one point, first of all, that Tark is the 8th category among the 16 categories listed in Nyaya Sutras by Akshapada Gautam. And another point, that Tark is not considered to be separate from inference in other philosophical traditions. But Nayayikas are of this opinion that there is a clear-cut division, and Tark is not a Pramana at all, because in these 16 tattvas, first tattva is Pramana, and Tark is taken counted among the 16 tattvas separately from Pramans. It clearly proves that Tark is not a Pramana at all and Anuman is a Pramana. So there is a clear distinction between Anuman and Tark. You cannot say that Anuman is Tark. So English translation of rendering of this term Tark is hypothetical reasoning, counterfactual reasoning, dialectical reasoning, indirect proof, reductio ad absurdum argument. From these descriptions, it is very clear that Tark is a kind of reasoning, but it is not inference at all. It is different from Pramana, it is different from inference. So, why it is different? What are the views, different views on Tark? And in Nyaya Vaisheshik tradition, we observe that there was a clear distinction between among views. All Nayayikas and Vaisheshikas are not unanimous on the issue of Tark, because they assign different works to Tark. They would say that Tark is doing something, and some other are saying something different. So Vaisheshik philosophers like Sridhara and Vyoma Shivacharya, they would say that Tark is a kind of inference, to be noted the point, and therefore can yield veridical inferential cognition. But nowhere else in Indian philosophical tradition it is accepted that Tark is a kind of inference. Only Sridhara and Vyoma Shivacharya have accepted this point. And we can observe that this way of thought is not very much similar to the way of Nayayika's thinking. Uddyotakar, the author of the Nyaya Vartika, a commentary on Nyaya Bhashya, says that Tark engenders cognition which is neither doubtful nor certain. So, neither doubtful nor certain. Udayanacharya and Keshav Mishra say that Tark is a special kind of mental process directed toward factious cognition, and it can generate a cognition, but it is not able to produce a cognition without some praman. So it gives a support to pramanas, but it is not capable of producing any knowledge or any cognition by itself. Jaina philosophers, in Jaina philosophy it is very interesting to note that Jaina philosophers have assigned a special role to Tark, and according to them Tark is a mediate instrument of veridical cognition other than inference. So it is other than inference, but Tark is Pramana. So this Jaina philosophy, Jain view is different from the view of Vyoma Shivacharya and Sridhara. So what is the standard Nyaya view? A standard Nyaya view is that Tark is not a means of veridical cognition. This is not a Pramana, but it supports a Pramana. Therefore it is called a Pramana Nugrahaka. And the Nyaya Vaisheshikas, Tark is not a non-veridical cognition, different from doubt and error. it is supportive of inference. So this is said that this is very much common to standard Nyaya view, and we cannot differentiate actually between this standard Nyaya view and Navya Nyayika's view. They are they accept the same point, but there are slightly different points, because older Nyayikas and new Mimamsakas say that Tark supports all kinds of pramana, including perception and verbal testimony. But this point is not accepted by Navya Nyayikas. Navya Nyayikas don't say that Tark is supporting perception and verbal testimony. Rather, they would say that Tark is useful only in the process of inference. So, Tark is not a praman, but useful in the process of inference. So, we will begin with the definition of Tark as provided by Gautama. Gautama says that avigyata tattvarthe karanopapattitas tattvagnanarthamuhas tarkaha. Tark is a kind of conjectural reasoning, uha, used for ascertaining the real nature of a thing, tattvagnanartha. Ascertaining the real nature, to know the real nature of this. The purpose of Tark is to know the real nature of thing. When, in what situation Tark should be applied, especially when the nature of a thing is generally known, but not specially known, but it is yet to be fully determined, which reveals the real nature by showing the absurdity of all contrary characters. So, karanopapattitah, we try to figure out what are the causes, we figure out the causes, and on the basis of those causes we argue, and this argument is called Tark. This is the definition provided by Gautama. On this, Gautama's Nyaya Sutra, Vatsyan makes a brilliant observation. He says that once one hears that on the Nyaya view that soul is the knower, one wonders whether the soul is eternal or non-eternal, whether the soul is identical with the self, with the body, or different from the body. So what are the ground? How could we determine that whether soul is eternal or non-eternal? What are the grounds? We cannot settle the issue through perceptual process, because we can observe simply that the body is destroying. But if soul is different from body, we cannot be very sure that the soul is also being destroyed when body is getting destroyed. So the argument follows in that way. If the soul were non-eternal, it would be impossible for it to enjoy or suffer the consequences of its own action. It cannot go then, it cannot undergo transmigration and to attain final release. This is to say, in Baddha and Mukta, final release Mukta, it cannot be Mukta. It cannot achieve moksha at all. So, but this would be impossible to, impossible and unacceptable, because the soul is said to reap the fruits of its own action and seek the final release, seek the moksha. So, it would be possible only if we accept that soul is eternal. So, by the above hypothetical reasoning, so this reasoning is hypothetical reasoning, because we don't know, we are not very sure through perceptual process whether the soul is eternal or non-eternal. So this is avigyata tattva artha. The nature of a thing is not known through perceptual process and through other means of knowledge which are available to us at the present moment. So in that case, we apply our reasoning, and employing our reasoning, we conclude that soul is eternal. If soul were non-eternal, it would be impossible to enjoy the fruits of the doings, whether they are good or bad, it doesn't matter. But this another point is that it is called uha. Why it is uha? Because this tark does not provide us a conclusive, a determinate cognition. It is admitted as supportive of a praman and directly associated with it is helpful in ascertaining the real nature of thing, and in this case the real nature of the soul, that the soul is eternal. So this is the Vatsyayana's illustration, and according to this illustration it is very much clear that what is the nature of tark is according to the old Naiyayikas, and here it is not inference, because in inference there will be a hetu and there will be a paksha, there will be a sadhya, and in this form it cannot be done here, because what is hetu, it is not very clear. And what we do employing this tarka, we acquire a knowledge, but the knowledge is not acquired by tarka, but it is acquired by pramanas, and tark is helping the pramanas, because tark is reducing, tark is negating a few possibilities, because there are two possibilities, either soul is eternal or non-eternal. So tark removes one possibility, that soul is non-eternal, because if soul were non-eternal it would be impossible to enjoy the fruits of our doings, therefore soul cannot be non-eternal. So if one aspect is removed, refuted, then only second option is left, and in this way tark is helping pramana, other pramanas. The Navya definition of tarka. The Navya Nayayikas have formulated the definition of tark in a clear way, because as you can observe, the Gautama's definition of tark is not very much clear. It is obscure. So here Navya Nyaya definition given that Vyapya Ropena Vyapaka Ropas Tarka. Tark is Vyapaka Rop. Arop means fictitious cognition. And whose fictitious cognition? Fictitious cognition of a pervader, Vyapak. But why? Vyapya Ropena. Due to the fictitious cognition of a pervaded, that is Vyapya, in a locus where there is the absence of pervader, and this should be understood. Vyapya ropena vyapaka ropas tarka, when it is said, it is not made clear in this example, this definition, if we go by the meaning of the term, but actually we have to understand the meaning of term, because arop is very much important here. So it explains that when there is no fire, if you are producing the fictitious cognition of fire there, then only it would be it can be said, it can be translated as arop means accusation. Suppose one is not guilty and you accuse the person to be guilty, it will be called accusation, it will be arop. And it is not, and actually there is also a point of difference between accusation, because when it is proved that the person is not guilty at all, in that case if one is accusing, that would be called arop. So if there were no fire, then there would be no smoke. It will be a case of tarka. This is vyapya ropena vyapaka ropa. Suppose, but one point here to be noted, that if there were no fire, so you are producing a fictitious cognition. So if there is a fictitious cognition, like if suppose there is a fire, and you say, and there is fire and also smoke, and you say that if there were no fire, there would be no smoke at all. So what you are imposing, it can be translated as imposition. imposition, willful imposition. You are imposing the absence of fire where there is actually fire present. So in the mountain, fire is actually present, but you are imposing the absence of fire there, and on the basis of the imposition of fire, you are also imposing the absence of smoke there in the mountain. So it will be the true case, the true example of tark. So this term, because this is a tark arop, and this definition of tark is very much dependent upon arop. So here one point must be understood: what is the nature of arop? Arop is actually a counterfactual supposition where we ascribe a particular character proposition knowing fully that the contrary is the case. We know simply that mountain is fiery, there is fire in the mountain. In that case also we would say that if there were no fire, so here there is imposition, there is a counterfactual supposition that fact is that there is a fire in the mountain. But this is counterfactual supposition if there were no fire. So this kind of supposition is also known as, it is famous in Aharya Gyan. This is a very interesting term to note in Nyaya philosophy, Aharya Gyan. Aharya Gyan is a cognition which is defined as Badhakalina Ichhajanyam Gyanam Aharyam. Such kind of cognition, this is a cognition is not simply produced by the thing. This is to say, cognition many times could be generated willfully. So this is Badhakalina Ichhajanya Gyan. This cognition is generated by our will, our desire. So in what situation? Many times we can generate willfully, and that cognition is true cognition, verifiable cognition. That is not the case. But that cognition which is generated willfully, but that is Badhakalin, at the time when there is contradictory truth, that is false to be, which is to be false regularly as a rule. That is called Aharya Gyan. So, which has been explained as a proposition but forward or as a cognition produced willfully by a person when he is quite convinced of the falsity of such a proposition or cognition. So when you are very much sure that mountain is fiery and you are willfully saying, or because saying is possible only if you are having a cognition, so you are having a cognition that if there were no fire, then, so if there were no fire, you are imposing it, you are willfully producing a cognition. Such supposition takes the form of a conditional proposition, the antecedent and consequent of which are known to be false. So if you can say that if x were y, yes would be p. This will be the form of tark, and this is the nature of tark according to Navya-Naiyayikas. So here there are two kinds of arop. One is niyat arop and another is aniyat arop. So suppose we know for sure that a lake where there are absences of both smoke and fire. Even then we may surmise if there were smoke in the lake, there would have been fire. Not to deceive others, but to establish. Here what we are doing it, we are trying to establish the concomitance between smoke and fire. And this is a case of counterfactual supposition. So these are there are two kinds of counterfactual suppositions. Regular niyatarop, fireless hill has fire. Suppose one is saying, one is having a cognition, willful cognition, that fireless has, this is not actually in the form of tark, it must be noted, but it is Aharya Gyana. So this is arop. it is not used in inferential process, this niyat arop. Fireless hill has fire, because posing existence of fire in a fireless hill cannot but be contrary to fact. So this is regularly it is false. So it is called a niyat arop. Aniyat arop, which is occasional. For example, a willful counterfactual supposition of fire on a hill, having known if by some praman to be without fire at a particular point of time. So this niyat arop and aniyat arop, there are two kinds of arop, and this arop is included in tark. Therefore it must be understood the nature of arop. This is a kind of imposition, counterfactual supposition. So these here, because some points were discussed here, vyapyaropena vyapakaropastarka. So what is arop? It is explained now. So let us turn to another term, two more points which are included in the definition of tark. One is vyapya and another is vyapak. Suppose we take vyapti as a relation. So vyapti is a relation, and there are two relators to this relation. One is vyapya and another is vyapak. Let us take one example, fire and smoke. Fire is vyapaka and smoke is vyapya, and in between fire and smoke there is a relation vyapti. So in this case we can say that fire is vyapaka and smoke is vyapya. Smoke is pervaded and fire is pervaded, because wherever there is smoke there is fire. This is very clear that wherever there is smoke there is fire. So in this case a second case would not be possible, that wherever, you cannot say wherever there is fire there is smoke. It is not true. But wherever there is a smoke there is fire, it is true. So here wherever there is a smoke, this smoke is vyapya and it is pervaded by fire. Therefore fire is pervader and smoke is pervaded. So if this is the case, on the basis of counterfactual supposition of vyapya pervaded, you can suppose the counterfactual, you can have counterfactual supposition of vyapak, pervader. So if there is a smoke, there will be fire. This is the case, and accordingly you can say if there is no fire there won't be smoke. If there were no fire there wouldn't be smoke at all. So here vyapyaropena vyapakaropastarka, and here this point must be noted that if smoke is pervaded and fire is the pervader, so if you add the absence to smoke and add absence to fire, the picture will change, and the picture will be in that way. In that case the absence of fire would be vyapya and the absence of smoke would be vyapak. So we can say if there is no fire there will be no smoke at all. So vyapyaropena vyapakaropa, vyapya would be absence of fire and vyapak would be absence of smoke. So here the conditional form, it is always conditional. It must be remembered that it is always conditional, and it takes the form if x is y then s is p. The thought expressed by the clause of the counterfactual supposition, x being y is the apadak. This is called a apadak, because one counterfactual supposition is taken as apadak and another is taken as apadya. So you say that if there were no fire there would be no smoke. So first part is apadak, there were no fire is apadak and there will be no smoke is apadya. So Vyapya and Vyapak, an example is given by Keshav Misra, and in that example it is in Tarka Bhasha, and this example shows clearly that how he thinks that this Tark is useful not only in inference but also in perception. And the case of absence he has taken as the example. So in the case of perception of an absence, this Tark plays a role. So in that case, here suppose one thinks looking at a jarless floor, if there were a jar on the floor, then it would have been perceptible like it would have been perceived like the floor. So there is a relation of universal concomitance between the existence of a jar given all those conditions are available for perception. So, and the perception of the jar. So in this pervaded relation, existence of a jar is the pervaded and the perception of that jar is the pervader. So Vyapyaropena Vyapakaropa. So we suppose if there were the jar, then it would have been perceived. Here the pervaded is supposed to entail the pervader and therefore is an instance of Tark, but it must be remembered according to Naiyayikas, this is not the case of inference at all, but this is a case of perception. With the help of this Tark, one perceives the absence of jar on the floor, on the ground. So this is to show only that according to some Naiyayikas, Tark is useful in perception also, and also it is useful in Shabda Pramana. So here we should discuss some more issues, that what are the conditions needed for a genuine Tark. To note here, Tark is not a Praman, but there is Tarka and there are Tarka Bhashas. There are Tarkas and there are Tarka Bhashas. This kind of distinction Naiyayikas make, Tarka and Tarka Bhas. So Tark is genuine Tarka and Tarka Bhas is not a genuine Tark. So what things are necessary? One must know for certain absence of the entailed in the relevant dharmi, relevant substratum. So must know that some certain absence of the entailed, what is going to be entailed, that must be absent there. So here the relation of universal concomitance of the entailed must be known in the entailer. So this what is entailing and what is entailed, between them there is a relation of universal concomitance, and that relation of universal concomitance must be known. So the entailer must be known to be present in the dharmi counterfactually. So these three are, in these three, let us take one example, and in that example we can understand the point. Like in the ponds, if somebody is explaining this Tarka, to establish Vyapti, if somebody is saying that if there were smoke in the lake, there would have been fire. So in this case, what one knows? One knows very certain that there is no smoke in the pond. Another point, he knows that there is no fire in the pond, and he also knows, before doing this Tarka, before explaining this Tarka, he knows that between smoke and fire there is a relation of universal concomitance. He knows that wherever there is a smoke, there is a fire. So these three things are known, only then a genuine Tark can be employed. Okay. So here in this case, if a jar had been present on the floor, then it would have been perceptible like the full floor. In this case, we can illustrate, we can understand the point. One knows for sure that there is absence of perception of jar on a jarless floor. Secondly, the universal concomitance of perception of jar is known in the existence of that jar, and also the existence of a jar is supposed to characterize the jarless floor counterfactually. So these three things are known, and only then this tark is employed here. So now let us apply it to smoke fire case. If there were no fire, then there would be no smoke at all. So here the pervaded is absence of fire, and the pervader is absence of smoke. So the absence of fire is that which entails the absence of smoke. Because there is absence of fire, therefore there is absence of smoke. So one knows for certain that there is no absence of smoke, which means that there is smoke on the hill. And the relation of universal concomitance of the absence of smoke is known in the absence of fire. And this will be in this form: wherever there is a smoke of fire, there is absence of smoke. And then thirdly, absence of fire known to be there on the hill counterfactually. Counterfactually means this is actually not the case that there is absence of fire, but it is imposed. That means the absence of fire is imposed to characterize the hill counterfactually. So these three things are there, and if these three things are there, then we can use this tark, we employ this tark. So next is very important question: what is the function of tark? Because we have discussed that actually tark is not a praman. So if it were a praman, it could generate a knowledge, or it could give us a new piece of information. But tark is not a praman, so it cannot give us a new piece of information. So what is the role tark can perform? According to Naiyayikas, there are two functions of tarka. Tark is supposed to refine the knowledge of the nature of a thing, and this kind is called refiner of the object of knowledge. In Sanskrit, it is called Vishaya Parishodhaka. And secondly, it is supposed to remove the doubt. To say Vyabhichara Shanka Nivartak. This is to say, it removes the doubt of the deviation of the relation of pervasion or universal concomitance. This is to say, if there is Vyabhichara Shanka, if there is a doubt of deviation, there won't be, you would not know surely that there is Vyapti, there is universal concomitance. So it is very necessity that we must remove that doubt, and to remove that doubt, tark is used. So these are two functions of tark. A counterfactual reasoning is capable of revealing fallacies and defeaters with respect to a position. So it reveals the fallacy using counterfactual conditional as a major premise. One may resort to a modus tollens arguments as follows: if the hill were without fire, then it would have been without smoke. The hill is not without smoke, therefore the hill is not without fire. So this counterfactual reasoning lends plausibility to the first premise: the hill has fire. So in this case, we can understand that simply this Vishaya Parishodhak, it is refining the case that what could be the possibility. The probability of absence of smoke in the lake can be increased by another counterfactual argument of the same type. For example, if there were smoke in the lake, then there would have been fire in that lake. So fire is absent in the lake, therefore smoke is absent in the lake. This counterfactual reasoning refines our factual awareness of the absence of smoke in a lake, and as a result, it supports us in grasping the Vyapti, that is a universal concomitance between fire and smoke. So how this is the main purpose. This is the main purpose of Tarka, that is counterfactual reasoning, as the remover of our fear of deviation. So it removes the doubt of deviation. Even if one has seen smoke and fire together too many times, different places. There are cases in the kitchen, on the hill, or in field. So there are so many cases where one has seen that there is a smoke, there is a fire, there is a smoke, there is a fire. But sometimes smoke may not accompany fire. Such a doubt is capable of blocking the knowledge of pervasion between smoke and fire, thus ruling out the possibility of an inference of fire from perception of smoke. That is the point here, to remove this kind of skepticism. Actually, one may doubt that this relation between smoke and fire is not a natural one. So there is a possibility, one would say that suppose there be smoke but not fire, what then? So this kind of doubt, this is called Bhevichara Shanka. So if one is saying that, okay, you are concluding that mountain is fiery on the ground, that there is on this basis that there is a smoke. But what then if I say, okay, let there be smoke but not the fire? What will you say? This is called Bhevichara Shanka. And to remove this Bhevichara Shanka, only one way is possible, and to employ Tarka. To remove this kind of skepticism, one may indulge in the following counterfactual reasoning. So deviation of smoke from fire is pervaded by the absence of being caused by fire. So if smoke had deviated from fire, then it would not have been caused by fire. To say it Sanskrit, if dhumo vanyebhya vichari syat, tari vanyajanyo na syat. If smoke deviates fire, then smoke wouldn't have been caused by fire. But everybody, you have to accept that smoke is caused by fire. So you have to accept that, smoke doesn't deviate fire. So smoke is caused by fire, therefore smoke cannot deviate from fire. So the above counterfactual reasoning is expected to remove all doubts from smoke being unaccompanied by fire. There is a twist, and the twist is that you are taking that Tark will remove the doubt, but Tark can remove the doubt only if there is a Vyapti, and it is very clear from the above discussion that between Apadak and Apadya there must be universal concomitance. So the relation of universal concomitance is assumed between the deviation of smoke from fire and the absence of the fact that smoke is produced by fire. So the argument from the counterfactual hypothesis is backed by a causal factor, causal law, which is once again is the case of Vyapti. So Vyapti, if there is no Vyapti at all, then you cannot employ Tark. Thus a counterfactual reasoning which was used to remove doubts about pervasion relation in its turn is dependent on the pervasion relation between the entailer and the entailed. So the point, the crux of the problem is that inference is based on Vyapti and this Tark is also based on Vyapti. So you are saying that if a doubt arises in case of inference, because if there is a Vyapti, then only you can infer, and there would not be Vyapti if there is a Bhevichara Samshaya. If there is a doubt of deviation, then there will not be Vyapti Nishchaya. The Vyapti would not be certain there. So that doubt is removed, this Tark. So in Tark there is also another Vyapti. So there can be another doubt, and if there is another doubt, that doubt can be removed, another Tark, and so ad infinitum, infinite regress. You cannot be some place where you can stop, and this problem is raised by Sriharsh in Khandan Khanda Khadya. He says that actually tarkah shankavadhi kutah, the how this counterfactual supposition could remove the doubt. So this is the very basic problem is raised by Sriharsha. And Udayana in the Nyaya Kusumanjali. However, it must be noted that Udayana was Udayan comes first, thereafter Sriharsha comes, and after Gangesha comes. But we can find out this answer, this Nyaya answer in Nyaya Kusumanjali of Udayanacharya, and also in Gangeshopadhyaya's Tattva Chintamani. And he rules out the charge of infinite regress. According to them, how they get rid of this difficulty is that the doubt about the invariable concomitance between the entailed consequent, that is apadya, and the entailer ground, that is apadak, can arise only at the cost of a self-contradiction. This is to say, vyaghat. The point is that is a pragmatic contradiction. So thus revealing a pragmatic contradiction is the heart of this counterfactual reasoning. So we can understand the point here that one may doubt on Vyapti, but there are two ways in which a doubt can be removed. One way is tarka and another way is vyaghat. So suppose there is a doubt going on, so the doubt cannot pass the vyaghat. If there is a vyaghat, that is a counterfactual, pragmatic contradiction. Suppose in this case you cannot say that if it is said that धूम यदि वन्य धूम वन्य व्यभिचारी स्यात् वन्यजन्यो न स्यात्, if smoke deviates fire, it cannot be caused by fire. So here you cannot say, okay, let smoke be not caused by fire. You cannot say it, because if you say like this, you had to your daily behavior would be contradicted. Whenever you need a smoke, you try to find out, you try to produce fire. Why do you try to produce fire if you are in need of smoke? So this is a pragmatic contradiction, and showing this pragmatic contradiction, you cannot doubt more. So with reference to the example of smoke and fire, the Nayayik establishes by Tark, one cannot doubt that if smoke deviates from fire, then smoke is not caused by fire, as long as one believes that smoke is caused by fire. So secondly, one cannot doubt that smoke is caused by fire as long as one believes that smoke is caused by fire and acts accordingly. This is to say, if you are in need of smoke, you produce fire, you take fire. So one invariably lights a fire to have smoke, and therefore the pervasion between smoke and fire holds, it cannot be negated. So there are some pseudo reasonings, counterfactual reasonings, and that which appears a counterfactual reasoning but is not a genuine one is called a pseudo counterfactual reasoning or a tarka bhasha. In Bhasha Pariched, Siddhanta Muktavali, another name of this book is Karikavali, refers 5 situations of such tarka bhashas, pseudo counterfactuals. First one is that if the relation between the entainer or entailed is not of pervasion. So it was said that there must be a relation, pervasion between entailer and entailed, then there would be a tark. Suppose one says that if this drink had not quenched the thirst of a thirsty person, then it wouldn't have been colored, just as Akash, being colorless, cannot quench thirst. So this is tarka bhas, because water is color, according to Nayayikas, water is colorless. But as water is colorless, in the same way Akash is colorless, but as Akash being colorless cannot quench the thirst, in the same way this water cannot quench the thirst. if it is imposed, it lacks the vyapti, because there is no vyapti, there is no relation between being colorless and quenching the thirst. Second is that if in case there is a counterfactual supposition and it is blocked by another stronger counterfactual supposition, it is to say not any other counterfactual but stronger, this is to say whose vyapti is proved, it is defined. So according to Naiyayikas, manas is mind. So Naiyayikas accept that manas has movement. So, but we cannot find out the touch of manas. So, in that way it is formulated that if manas or mind had movement, then it would have touch. So, this is not the case that if there is a movement, it must have touch. This is not possible at all. So, there is a no vyapti. If the entailed is not false, so entailed must be false. And if this is not the case, if sound had not been eternal, then it would not have been subject to recognition, like this is the same sound. So entailed here, if sound had not been eternal, so this is true that sound is not eternal, so it must be entailed. What is, it would not have been subject to recognition, like this is the same sound. So actually the point is that there is a debate between Nyaya and Mimamsa. Mimamsakas say that Shabd is sound is eternal, Naiyayikas say that sound is not eternal. So in that case, if there is such kind of counterfactual reasoning is proposed, it would be false, because entailed is not true at all. So if the entailed is not false, then that would not be a case of sound example of genuine tarka. The same example can be treated as that of a pseudo counterfactual where the entailed is not undesirable. So if entailed should be desirable, and if it is not desirable, it is not undesirable, then if it is undesirable, then this is possible. And if whatever is entailed, if it is desirable, then there is no problem at all. That counterfactual reasoning is not accepted at all. So this is not a genuine one. This fifth type of pseudo counterfactual arises when it supports the opponent's view instead of demolishing it. So if sound were not eternal, it wouldn't have been produced. So actually if something is produced, it cannot be eternal at all. So this is the point here to be noted. And if it is supporting another view, opponent's view is that sound is not eternal. So if sound were not eternal, it wouldn't have been produced. So actually sound is produced and it is not eternal. So this argument, this tark is not a good, genuine tark, because it lacks those things, those qualities, those properties which are required. So let us sum up this module. In this module we have discussed beginning from Gautama how the idea of tark and function of tark is getting changed, and now how the Navya Naiyayikas are using this as Vishaya Parishodhaka and Vyabhichara Shanka Nivartak. So all these issues we have discussed in this module, and if you are willing to know some more points, you may see the e-text and also the read more section of this module. Thank you for listening to me.